Hi everybody. We are going in this video, we're going to make a security camera that shows up on a monitor, and then we will make it so that when you walk up to the monitor, your button appears on the screen, you press the button and it turns on the monitor. So this is a little bit of the render path for a camera to a quad, and a little bit of how to get a button to 2D UI button to do something in the scene. Okay, so first thing we want to do is make a quad. And so I am going to go to Game Object and 3D Object and Quad. And I'm going to move it. Call it TV screen. And I'm going to move it into space that makes more sense. We'll put it up here, and let's make it bigger. Okay, sort of over the doorway there. And beautiful. Okay, so now we need a couple of things. We need a render texture first of all. So I'm going to right click in here. I'm going to go create. I'm going to go rendering. I'm going to say render texture. And let's put it down here, but it's did it do it? Let's try that again. Right click, create, rendering, render texture. There it is. And I'm going to call it TV render texture. Okay, beautiful. And now we're going to need just a normal material. So I'm going to right click again, create a material, and I'm going to call it TV mat. So there's my TV material, there's my render. So my render is going to go into the base map of the material, and then the TV will go onto the screen. This just gives me a little bit more control, so I can change the metallic and the smoothness. I could probably just put the render texture right on the quad, but this gives me more control. Next thing I want to do is make a new camera that's going to be in the space. So let's make a game object camera, and let's bring it into the space, and let's see, what is it looking at? It's looking the wrong way. Let's have it look at us. Okay, roughly looking our direction, so we'll be on the TV. And now first thing we want to do is make sure we turn off the audio listener, because there can only be one audio listener in your scene, and it will spam you the whole time if that's not working. And then the next thing we want to do is the rendering. Output texture. Sorry. So we put the TV material. We put the TV render into the output texture, and now we can see the TV is seeing what the camera is seeing. Okay, so output is on output is the area I was looking for. Okay, so we go here, and now we're on TV. Looks great. Now something else we could do, let's just for pops and giggles lower this a little bit so we're in the frame a little longer. And let's make that TV. Now, one thing we can do with this TV material is we can turn on emissions and make it glow a little bit. And there's an intensity here, so if you really want to blast it out, we can. The problem with this is when you blast it out, you also lose the TV itself. So I tend to not turn that on. I want these guys up. You can also tint the TV with this if you wanted to. So you could make the TV more a different color. Another trick that has changed slightly is you could put a light on the TV and have only the light only see the TV. So let's do that, because that's a good trick to know just in general. And that is go under Game Object and Light, and let's go a Direction Light. And we can see how the TV's already nicely. Now it's lighting everything, of course, but let's say that looks like about what we want. So now our problem is that's lighting everything, and we only want it to light up the TV. So this is one thing that's changed, is Direction Light. Rendering layers, instead of default, let's say nothing, and then let's set it to light layer 1. So now only stuff on light layer 1 are going to show up. Now we go back to our TV again, and in the mesh rendering section, we have rendering layer mask here, and here we can say light layer 1 and then turn off default. And now only what's on light layer 1, the light is only on light layer 1, and this mesh is only on light layer 1, and that should show up. And let's just play and make sure that's all working. Great. Next problem is making a button. So let's make a button. We want a button that toggles that TV on and off, that pops up on our UI when we get close, and so that presents some fun problems. So let's start by making a button. So I can go under Game Object, UI, Button Text Mesh Pro, and it did it. We can't see it, but it is there. If we go to game, there's our button down there. Scene view, it's not in the way. If it is in the way, there is, oh, and perhaps it will, yeah, see how this is probably how yours looked when you tried it. I see how it's got, like, I can't see my scene anymore because that big annoying thing's in the way. This little list here, what is this called? This is the view options palette. So go to the view options. It moves around in every iteration of Unity, very frustratingly, but in 6 it's down here at the bottom of the scene view. Click on this little pull down menu and turn off the eye next to UI, and now you won't have that in your view anymore. Not necessary, but handy if you're frustrated about how you can turn that off but still see stuff. Okay, so now we have a button. Here's our button. We could call it something a little more exciting than button. We could say toggle TV. Beautiful. Okay, so now when we play, we should just have a TV sitting on top of the screen, and we've got a couple problems. One is our mouse goes away because of the script that's on the character. It gets rid of the mouse, but we might want the mouse, so that's a problem. And we don't have anything associated with this button yet. Okay, So let's make a script on the that goes on the TV, and it will handle it will have the code that's flipping the materials, and so it will also make the button appear. So let's start with that. Add component, a new script, and we will call it TV. I'm calling it TV switch 2 so that I don't mix it up with the one I already made when I was testing. Okay. TV switch 2. Beautiful. And I'm going to go open that up. And great. So we want something that keeps the mouse there no matter what. And let me just check my notes. So first thing, we're using the UI engine. We're going to be turning that on and off, the button on and off, and that's part of the UI. So we need the Unity engine .ui. Okay, great to do that and not have forgotten about it, because that's so easy to forget about. Okay, so in the start here, we can say cursor dot visible equals true, and then there's another little sketch here. Cursor, yes please, dot lock lock state, I think it's called, yeah, lock state equals cursor dot sorry, not dot, lock mode none. Slow O on there. Okay, so this is going to turn the cursor on, and this is going to mean like, hey, override other scripts that are trying to turn it off. And that's handy, so that when you get there, we can, I'm sure there's ways to play with that so the cursor only comes up when you're within the range where you need to use the button. And we could, I haven't planned on doing that, but that should be changing this lock mode to something, and then we'll change the visible to false, and then it will go away. So okay, so let's save this, and let's just see if it is doing what we want. What's that getting? Lock state does not have a small L on lock. So there we go. Sorry. Okay. Awesome. And now our mouse is still there, so I can turn the TV on off. That's great. Okay, so next problem is we want this to switch materials, right? We want to have a material that's off, and then a material that's got the camera. So let's create a couple spaces for materials, and we will have a public capital M material, and we'll say TV off, and then we'll have another one for TV on, and then okay, that's good. And then we need let's make a Boolean that will have the state of the TV. So we'll call that a private bool. We'll call it TV state equals false, so it's off when you come to it. Okay, so I've got a Boolean. Now I'm needing something that's going to check, and so when we get close to the TV, so we'll make a collider, turn the trigger on it, make it further out, and we can say void on trigger enter. Don't need that. We don't need to check the tag. We could if we wanted to, but we know how to do that already. So now that's going to and what else do we need? We need to have the button itself that we drag in there. So public actually let's save this. Let's just make we won't worry about turning the button on and off. Let's just have the button work and then we'll make it visible and not visible. So to make the button work, we need to have a public function. So and we'll call it public void TV toggle. Did I already call something else TV toggle? No. Okay, public void TV toggle. I'm gonna call it TV toggle 2 just because I don't want to screw myself up. Okay, so public void TV toggle will be fine. Okay. So public void TV toggle, and that is the function that's going to run when we click the button. And so let's just have it print. Well, we've already got our materials and we've got our Boolean TV state. So we could say TV state equals TV state. Exclamation mark is going to flip that Boolean. And then we can say if TV state, if it's true, and then we need to set the materials to true. And so to do that, we need to get the component. So we can say get component, and then we want to say, what is it? It's the mesh renderer. Right. And then these two guys, and then dot material, and then equals TV on. Alright, TV on, TV off. There's my two materials. If I press the button, it flips the state of the Boolean. If it's true, it makes the material to the TV on. If it's false, it makes the TV off. So, and now this isn't getting called from anywhere, right? It's a public void TV toggle, but it's not. No one's calling it. Okay, so I'm gonna save that. And let's just see if this is still working. I'm not getting any errors yet. Okay, brilliant. Now let's go to our button, and our button has this here on click. This is the function that's going to run when the button runs. So I want to take a little plus sign there. Now I want the object that my script is on will go into this object here, and that is my TV screen. So I'll drag that in here. And then on the function, I'm going to say switch to, and I'm going to say toggle TV. Toggle TV is this function here, which is going to run, only going to run when the button's pressed. Now, the only other thing we have to do is we have on our script here, we have to put our materials in here. So one is easy, that's TV material, and that goes to TV on. But we need a new material for TV off. So create material, I'll call it TV off, and let's change its color to black and make it as shiny as possible. Okay, awesome. And actually, maybe we should start with that. We should start with the TV off. And let's go to our TV again, and then drag our off material into there. So that is the two spots that we made here and here, filling those with the two materials. If it's on, it turns it on. If it's off, it turns it off. And we have this guy here. It's just keeping our cursor on, our cursor visible. So let's see what happens. Great. Toggle TV. TV's on. Toggle TV. TV's off. That's beautiful. Okay, so the only problem is when we get close to we want the button to show up when we get close to the TV, but we don't want it necessarily on the screen the whole time. So let's think about how we could do that. We can make a trigger on here. So let's make a component with a box collider, and let's make our box collider big enough that we don't have to walk too far. Awesome. And we've already started writing the script here, which is on trigger enter, and that's going to trigger. Now we're gonna have a couple problems. First of all, we need a space for the button, because we need to make the button visible or not, so we need to make a public variable, put the button in that variable. So we can say public and button with a capital B, and we can say TV button. Sure. Oh, and we want the semicolon. And let's turn it off at the start so that it's not there, and then it comes on when we get close to the TV. So we can say TV button dot game object with a small g dot set active. I'll set that to false. Okay, so now we're not going to see the button hole. Sorry about that. So it's going to be false, and then when we trigger enter, this is going to set it to true, and then we could get ahead of the game and have an exit and set it to false again. Okay, so get in the area, sets the set active to true, so we'll see the button. Otherwise, button doesn't show up. That's all great, except let's look at the console just to make sure everything's awesome. There's the only problem with all of this is that our player, if we look at our player, we have a character controller, but we don't have a collider. The dog is barking at me. And the trigger is not going to get triggered by the character collider. It needs to have a collider on it. So let's go add component, and let's go capsule collider, and let's move it up a little bit, and let's make it smaller than the character collider so it's not getting in the way of anything. Okay, so I've got a little collider inside of me, and we'll turn is trigger on that. So it's not going to do anything. It's just when it runs into that space, when it runs into this collider, which also should have is trigger turned on. So both of these are is trigger. When it collides into there, it should turn the thing on. Yeah, it's a function of this guy. This character collider is something we haven't used so much yet, but it works slightly differently. Okay, so let's see what happens here. Oh, I have not an instance of an object, which means I did not drag my button into there yet. So button goes into here. Now it knows what the button is. Okay, let's try it again. Great, no button, no button, no button. Walk over here, button comes on, press the button, turns the TV on. Press again, turns it off, walk away, and the button goes away. So that solves a lot of problems. That trick with the button is a little tricky to get your head around. You have to make an object that has a script that has a public function, drag the object onto the on click of the button, find the function in this pull down, and then it will do whatever that is. So a couple of steps, but totally doable. Okay, that's it for this video.